The following program may contain some strong languages that may not be suitable for younger viewers or listeners. So viewers and listeners' discretion is advised.
Sometimes I'm lazy, or maybe just holding back. Anyway, it's hard to know the difference. Sometimes I get crazy, but if I do, it doesn't matter. No, no. What I'm doing is soul searching, digging a little bit deeper every day.
Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, and welcome one and all to episode 14 of JTC the podcast. I'm your host, Juan Tiny Colon. I'd like to personally thank you all for checking out the podcast. Welcome again, because if I didn't say it the first time, I'll say it again. On that note, welcome to episode 14, guys. If you're a first-time listener, let me let you know where you can find this podcast. Right now, it's exclusively available on patreon.com, where you can check out the podcast, currently episode 14, plus older ones as well, if you want to catch up and come up to speed onto what the topics are. And if you like to, if you also want, you can also become a member of Patreon. And if you're already a member of Patreon, it simply will cost you $1. That's it. $1. Nothing more, nothing less. $1 make you holler, baby. Let me tell you. On that note, if you want to also join the fan page on Facebook.com, you just go to Facebook and look for JTC the podcast. You can also get access to it on Instagram. You can also get access to X. Once again, JTC the podcast, exclusively available on Patreon. Now, if you want to submit questions, before I get to that part, just want to say those who already, and I do sometimes send out clips to a select few people. For those of you that want to submit questions and comments to the podcast, you can either comment on the video that you're selected to watch, or you can email us directly at JTC the podcast, one word, all lowercase letters, JTC the podcast at gmail.com. And if you want to stay anonymous, like many people have, just state it somewhere in the email, and we'll honor it. Now, I have a co-host of the podcast, Annie. She was detained this week, so she will not be co-hosting with me on the podcast. But that's all right. As they say, the show goes on. I just wanted to get that intro out of the way so I can get into the meat and potatoes of what episode 14 is about. And I think the best way I can start this episode is by quoting an artist who I have the utmost respect for. This episode is called Walking Hard. Now, I won't get into it. I'll get into why the episode is titled that, but this quote should give you an idea. And I'll tell you who the author is. So, quote is, "Death is not the greatest loss in life. The greatest loss in life is what dies inside while still alive. Never surrender." That, guys, was written by Tupac Shakur, who not too long ago in the news, finally somebody is being charged for the death of Tupac Shakur. I don't want to get into that because this is not a news broadcast, but hey, finally, after almost 30 years, somebody will pay for his death. On that note, that's what this episode is pretty much about. It's not the greatest loss in life, it's the greatest loss if you die inside while you're still alive. That's what walking hard to me means. In other words, when you're talking and you feel like you're in a wind tunnel and nobody can hear what you're saying or even wants to hear it, that's pretty much the theme of today. For the last 14 episodes, I've been bringing you the best of what I've got, I believe. I know there was, and I believe in transparency. I know there was times where I wasn't feeling up to it, and I don't think, and this is just me personally, I don't think that I was giving you good enough because of a few things. Some personal things which were coming up in my life, and I decided not to. I decided to handle that better, and I chose that first. I don't think there's anything wrong with that. I think it's very good that, how can you help anyone if you can't help yourself? So I decided to deep dive into myself. Therefore, there was a hiatus for a while. Well, I'm over that hiatus. Well, another hiatus was about to happen until something occurred, and I'll let you guys know, because again, this is transparency to me. I would say the last episode 13, I went live on Facebook. I decided to broadcast live because I know I said in the past that I wanted to do that. So I did. So the podcast was broadcast live on Facebook. It wasn't done with any malintent. It was done because I believe and I follow a method called say what you do. If you say it, you need to do it. Well, I did it. So I think it was pretty successful. I believe it was well received. Nobody's came out and said, yo, that was horrible. Yo, I didn't like it. No one said anything like that. So I think that it went over pretty well. So with that being said, I think I was about to talk about a deep dive into the financial side of the industry, which most band leaders don't know, the relationships that you have and how to better your income as a band leader, because I am a band leader, guys. I know what it takes. It's not an easy process, and I was really ready to deep dive. But then something happened, and you're wondering, hey, this podcast is a day late. What's going on? Well, I'm going to be real, guys. I didn't really want to film. I didn't really want to do 14. As a matter of fact, I didn't even want to do any of it anymore. Because again, I feel like I'm yelling into a wind tunnel and nobody can hear me. And I understand why, and this is the realization that I've came up to. The fact is that, I'm sitting and I'm doing these things, and I'm trying to better my brothers, to help my brothers and sisters in the music industry, survive and strive and be successful, or to at least have some sort of success, to give them my experiences and, giving them the benefit of my experiences, And I wanted to help out. I wanted to, be that voice that some of them lack. But it's very hard when you feel like you're by yourself. It's hard to think when you believe somehow that you're in this fight by yourself. No support from friends, no support from fellow brothers and sisters in it, no support from family, or so it seems. Sometimes you can only hit that reset button so much. You can only change that password so much. You can only reboot so much before the system says, all right, you're not going to work. Well, I'm tired of rebooting, and I'm not going to do that no more. I'm tired of putting things off. I'm not going to do that anymore. When I speak about the industry, I try to give everybody a view as to what this industry truly is. But it's unfortunate that it gets drowned out by what so many people have said to me in about a week or so, that there's so much going on in the world. I don't need to get into it. You already know there's so many things that are happening. There's so many political overtones going on, so many racial overtones going on, so many religious overtones going on. Possible World War III with Ukraine, and issues going on with Israel and Palestine, and you know, all the things that are happening in the world of politics. Could be here forever by just listing the issues that are going on: the high economy, the everybody's broke, the woke left, or the ultra right, or what. We can go here and talk about this forever. Music is on the lowest totem pole of that. Like the issues that go on within the music industry, to some people's mind and some people's degree, is like, let me see, in a percentage wise, out of 100%, I would say it's probably 0.000001. Because it's so minuscule, it doesn't even register as a problem. Like, there's some people that have told me personally, you know what? Who cares, man? You guys get to do this for a living. You guys get to play and they use the word play. So you guys get to use play, and you can have fun and play your instruments and this and that, and bring joy to people's world. Yeah, you're right. We get to play. We get to do all those nice things that you said. But truth of the matter is that we get treated like shit. And why do we get treated like shit? Well, here goes. I don't know when this exactly started happening. I wish I knew, but I don't. But somehow, I think in between the late 80s, the 90s itself, until the early 2000s, 21st century, I believe that somehow our generation, my generation, because I'm almost 50, guys, I'm not going to lie. I've lived a quarter of a century. Somehow our generation, we managed to fuck a good thing up. The music industry was great at one time. I know I had an episode called Make the Music Great Again, but the truth of the matter was, it was great. And I believe it was great because you were able to make a living. You were able to do this full time with no issues, no problems. You were able to work 5, 6, 7 days a week if you chose. Now, there are those who didn't. Those decided to have day jobs and not pursue music full time, only usually on the weekends. So, and I'm not just talking about one particular location in the United States. I'm talking about all over the 50 states. Musicians were able to eat. They were able to pay bills. Some of them were able to put their kids through college. Okay? Fast forward to 30 years later. Now, nobody can put their kids through college. As a matter of fact, you can't even shop at Aldi's for what you make as a musician in today's world. And I'm talking about 2023. Now, mind you, there are a select few that still do this for a living. Okay, there is a select few. There's a lot of them that have been able to be successful, but there's a huge majority that haven't. And the reason why is because somehow, some way, we managed to really fuck it up. There's just no other nice way of saying it. Now, how do we fuck it up? I'll tell you. Somehow we let people in that should never been let in. Somehow we allowed these people who do not know anything about business, let alone anything about the music industry, let alone anything about how to deal with groups or how to deal with bands or how to deal with artists, how to deal with musicians in general. We let them in. Some of them took 2, 3, 4 lessons, then they decided to become maestros, and then everyone they kiss the right ass to get to the positions that they in. And when they got in those positions, they clicked up. They found only a select few people they wanted to work with, and therefore nobody else ate. I'll give you an example. If you ever go to a festival, okay? And I want you guys to really, really listen to what I'm saying. If you go to a festival, any festival, a small festival in your town, and you have, I don't know, maybe 3 or 4 of the same style of group that's there, I guarantee you, out of the entire festival, you're going to see maybe 1, 2, 3, or 4 of the same musicians in all 3 groups. You will see it. You know why? Because I have an example for you, and I have the proof that even says it. Here's an example. This past summer was the same thing. I worked 3 times in one festival, which is called the Taco Festival in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. I worked 3 times with 3 different groups. Okay? Now, was it a financial gain for me? Yes, totally. Not gonna lie. I got paid and I got compensated very good to do all 3. Okay? But what does that mean to the rest of the musicians that are in town that are not doing that? What about them? Do you know by doing stuff like that you become a liability? Because let's say, for instance, you're a band leader of one of those groups, which I am, and those other 2 groups that I worked with call me up and my group is working. I can't make that. They can't replace me. Because, I don't know, just come up with a bunch of reasons why they couldn't. So they have to hire maybe 1 or 2 or 3 people to do the job that I do. Because honestly, in the other groups, I'm not going to say their names, but you should know who they are if you're from Pittsburgh and you know me and you know what I do. Those other 2 groups, even though they really don't need me, they rely on me to be there. Now, I've decided to say to myself, I can't do that anymore. I can't do things like that anymore. I can't put other bands in jeopardy taking all the work. There is enough work and enough talent that one singular person should not be called for everything. It's not fair. It's not fair to them. It's not fair to me. Because, yeah, I'm not a young man anymore. I can't be working that much or killing myself that much just to be profitable for one day. And people on the sidelines who are capable of doing the job are not doing it because they see one person eating. Well, the same thing happens with clicks. When you click up, it's only those people that get a particular job. I mean, I've seen that happen in Las Vegas with certain click groups. I've seen that happen in Florida with groups that have clicks. I've seen that happen in North Carolina. I've seen that happen in LA. I've seen that happen in San Francisco. I've seen that happen in Chicago. I've seen that in every freaking part of the United States that has live entertainment and venues to play. Especially in New York. Clicks, 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 clicks. It's the same guys doing everything. Therefore, no one else eats. That is not the way it should be. It should be the right person for the right job. The right person for the right job to be doing the gigs. It's not just for one person. This business was not built on the back of one person, but unfortunately, because we let people in this industry that have that sort of gang mentality, that they figure, oh, well, you know, I'm going to get with a couple of people, I'm going to use these people because these people are either my friends, quote unquote, because to be perfectly honest, when you're in a clique, okay, everybody's protecting each other. That's the motto of a clique, right? I don't know if anyone out there is a wrestling fan, but there's an infamous group that used to be in WWE, or F at the time, but it's now WWE. In the early 90s up to 2000, I believe, yeah, the 90s, they used to call themselves the Clique. Well, those 5 individuals pretty much ran the show. They would work with each other, and they were over, as they say a little bit in the industry, they were over in the office, which means that the office liked the way they work, and they drew money for the company, so therefore they were the ones that were featured on the high level. Well, one of those members of that particular clique happens to be a high executive now in the same World Wrestling Federation I'm talking about. For those of you that are wrestling fans, you know exactly what I'm talking about. For those of you who don't, go Google it. I'm not going to get into that part because that's another thing altogether. I'm trying to make a point. The point is that that's not how this business should be operated. It's not should be based on any clicks. Unfortunately, it is. Therefore, it's detrimental to every other group that's out there. Because if you don't use their friend or you call their friend, they get upset and mad at you if you decide to go rogue, quote unquote, or go into business for yourself, quote unquote, and work with other groups. They don't want you to do that. And if you do, you're out of the clique. You're not part of the crew anymore. That's dangerous. That shouldn't be the way this industry runs, and it should never have happened. But because we let people in that don't know any better, that don't understand that there's so much food on the table that there's no need to starve anybody, it's wrong. That's our fault. And I say ours in the sense of my generation, because we let idiots like that in. Second thing in how we screwed this up is the money, taking whatever. Instead of listening to the old timers and say never work for less than you're worth. If you believe you're worth more, then you should get more. So forth and so on. Well, again, just to get the quote-unquote gig, they'll undercut themselves. Well, that undercutting trickled down, as they say. Like, for instance, in recordings, you see one person covering 4 or 5 instruments in a recording session. Now, is that good? Depends. I mean, the person's probably super ultra talented. I'm not saying anything wrong with that. But the fact is, you're covering 4 or 5 spaces in a recording. That's 4 extra people that are not eating because you decided to sell yourself in a package deal. And you work a package deal. Package deal is you're not working for the price of the recording session that it is. You're basically undercutting everybody else just so you can get that. So you work at a deal. Instead of the person, like an example, I'm going to give you $100 to record, I don't know, let's pick 5 instruments, all right? Percussion. I'm going to hire you to record congas on this track. Okay. And how much are you going to pay me for that track? Track is going to be $100. Okay, so I'll make $100 to record congas. How much are you going to pay the timbala to record, the bongo campana to record? And the bass, because I play all 4 instruments. Well, I was thinking of paying them the same, 100, everybody 100 across the board. And then that same person will say, well, you know what? Forget that. I'll do the whole track for $300. I'll give you a package deal. It's shit like that that has screwed this business up immensely. Now that's on the recording side. You don't think that happens live? Happens even more live. Because you got guys that'll say, oh, because you're my friend, I'll work for less. Not knowing that this is a business. You can't have friends in a business. Personal friendships and business are 2 different things. But you got guys using deals like that or doing deals like that behind the curtain. Again, screwing up the industry. So now, everybody in today, 2023, they can't eat. It's our fault. We let this shit happen. We let it happen. We only have ourselves to blame for things like this. We also have ourselves to blame for working with promoters that are not promoters. I put up a Facebook post. If you are a promoter that only promotes online, you are not a promoter if you only promote online and act like a fan. Now that's a quote from a real promoter, and by the name of Julio Mercedes. This guy is a promoter outside of San Francisco, California, and probably one of the most honest and respected promoters on the West Coast. I know because I worked with the guy at a few occasions here and there, and I've learned so much about promotions from him. And he was very gracious with his experience as a promoter, an honest promoter. There are some that would disagree with that statement, but I won't be one of them because I've never heard of anyone that he took advantage of. So, and that was a quote from him, because he said you can't call yourself a promoter that you only promote online and you act like a fan. You can't. This is a business. It's about dollars and cents. When you start treating it like a business, it'll become a business. Not to say you can't have fun in doing it, because of course you can have fun, but you still have to remember this is a business. Well, again, this is what happens when you let morons, idiots, and Mickey Mouse motherfuckers run rampant in our industry, calling themselves promoters because they went to Kinko's and they put on a bunch of things on a business card and put underneath promoter or DJ or professional musician, and you let them run rampant, not trying them out, not testing them, not being tested, not being taught, nothing. And we let them run rampant. Our fault. Pretty much. As a matter of fact, you know what? The more that I think about the title of this podcast today, the more I think about the episode title, I think I should change it from Working Hard to It's Just Our Fault. Shit you not. I really want to say it, but I don't really want to go there on that. I really don't. I like Working Hard. I'm gonna keep that because there's a reason why I call it that. Okay, there's a reason, and the reason is very simple. Okay. The reason why I'm saying these things is because somehow, a long time ago, I've decided to take accountability and responsibility for what goes on in the industry that I've loved so dearly for so many years, that I've given my life to. Now, there's many people that can't claim that. There's a lot of people out there that can't claim the distance time that I've done. There are a lot that can, but there's a lot that can't. I'll tell you the ones that can. The ones that can say that they've done 40 or more years than I have is the ones that are still involved. Their heart is still on the stage. They love the stage. They love to entertain people. And that's what their heart is. That's where their heart is. That through sickness, through death, through loss, through whatever, their heart is still on the stage. And they're still willing to give 110% to people. So there are people out there like me. And then there are also people out there that have done the same amount of years that I have or more, that don't give a shit about you. Claim to be advocates for you, but they don't care. You think they do, but they don't. Now, are some of those people affluent in the business that have a voice in the industry? Yes, they do. Do they use it? No. Why? Because they're in the same boat as the person that's on the bottom, just like the person that's on the top. They can lose that top position because if they speak out in any way, shape, or form against the industry, or they speak out in how the injustice that goes on with musicians, guaranteed they'll lose everything. You know why? Because nobody wants to do business with somebody like that. Nobody wants to do business with an anarchist. Nobody wants to do business with somebody that's willing to fight. Nobody wants to do business with somebody that's willing to act like a wolf, but in reality is a wolf in sheep's clothing. Or is a sheep in wolf's clothing. Sorry, I corrected myself. Well, there you go. They don't want to lose their position. So they ain't going to talk about it. Oh man, I heard so-and-so got screwed on her job. Oh, that's sad. I feel bad for them. That's some of their reactions. Now, who are those people, you're asking? Who are those people that have no empathy to their fellow brothers and sisters in the BMGA community? Who are those people? Well, I've thought about that for a long time. And I think it's time. I think it's time to start throwing these fuckers under the bus. I think it's time to start outing these cats that have what Chris Rock affectionately called selective outrage. They get mad and angry when things happen to them. But when they hear a fellow musician hurting or getting stiffed or getting their career halted or somebody burning them for absolutely no reason and they don't deserve that, yeah, they sit by and they don't do anything. They rather watch you burn than pee on you to put you out. And that's a shame. That's a shame. That is a shame in itself. So I've decided that after listening to those issues, listening to those problems, I've decided that I'm not going to stand by and watch that happen anymore. I'm a band leader myself, guys. Though I don't have any emotional attachment to the musicians that work with me in the group that I manage, I have an obligation to protect them. But they're not the only ones that I should be protecting. I have a moral obligation to protect all musicians. All of them. That means I will forever be your musical advocate, even if you don't think so or believe I should be. Now you're asking me why. Well, why do you want to be a music advocate? What's the sense? You know how hard that is? Someone asked me, and I said, yeah, very hard. That means I could risk myself being ostracized in the industry, ostracized by the current people that I work with, on and off the stage. I could be ostracized from certain venues. I could be ostracized from, well, just about anything. But I have an answer for that. I don't care. That's my answer. You want to ostracize me because I speak out? You want to ostracize me because I'm telling people what you're doing behind the scenes and what you're doing is wrong? You want to ostracize me for speaking on behalf of those who don't have a voice or are afraid to use it? Well, again, I'm going to go off what Tupac said. It's not the greatest loss if you die. The greatest loss of what inside dies inside you while you live. How can you call yourself a human being or any sort of human being? I mean, this goes past man or woman. This is human nature. How can you call yourself a human being and watch others suffer for no reason. Simply because they're not your friend. Simply because, oh, I don't owe them a living. Simply because you think at that moment, if you show any sort of selflessness, that it's going to look bad on you. I mean, how could you sit idly by and watch somebody go through that? You know, this year, last year, like the years, let's just say this, okay? The last, let me think. The last couple of years, coming into 2020, let's just say that. Let's use 2020 as the starting point, okay? And no, it's nothing to do with the pandemic. But the last 3 years, I have lost more close friends in this industry than you can imagine. It's very hard for me to talk about it. But I've lost a lot of close people. A lot of things could have prevented that. I believe. A kind word, a phone call, a text, anything. Some of them, unfortunately, were sick. Had nothing to do with coronavirus. Some of them needed a kind word out of somebody, maybe. Some of them needed, I don't know, anything, whatever, empathy or sympathy, something, anything. Just to let them know that they're not suffering alone. And sure enough, that never came. They never got that phone call. They never got that text. They never got that kind word that they needed to hear just to keep them going for one day. And some of them I knew personally. Some of them, honestly, I didn't know at all. But the fact that all it took was just for somebody to care. And what I mean is this. If you know someone that you talk about, or not even talk about, but you know someone, period, that you work a lot with each other and you're in the same town as that person, and you haven't spoken to that person in what, a year or two? You know, I've had people told me that, oh, I haven't spoken to that dude in like 10 years. And you guys live about 1 mile away from each other. And I'm thinking to myself, what the hell is wrong with you? 10 years go by and you don't speak to that dude? What, you got issues with the cat? I'm like, no, it's just, life, man. I'm busy with life. Okay, I mean, is that a legitimate answer? Well, I don't know, to be perfectly honest, because I've done the same. I've got caught up with my life so much that there are people that I always said to myself, well, one day I'm going to call that dude. One day I'm going to call that dude. One day I'm going to call that dude. And I didn't. And I got to live with that. And I got to live with that hate. I got to live with that anger for myself for not letting life do that to me. And I got to live with that guilt. And I'll give you an example of that guilt. In 2001, I had a friend, lived in Las Vegas. He would call me every so often. He would reach out to me, just to see how I'm doing. He didn't want anything from me. He just wanted to talk. And his name was Ed Morales. And one time he called me and he told me that he had stage 4 cancer. And I didn't know what to say. I had no words. I was so on the phone. I didn't know what to say at all. I was in shock. And kind of felt, oh my God, I just didn't have any words. I don't even know what I said to him. To be quite honest, I don't know. And I believe I hung up the phone. I say maybe a couple of weeks after he told me that, I sent a message to him, voicemail. I don't even recall what I said. All I know is that I apologized because I believe I told him I was in shock and I couldn't grasp, I couldn't put those things in my head. I mean, this is somebody that told me that he had stage 4 cancer and they gave him 5 to 6 months. And this is one of the healthiest cat that I knew. He was a percussionist in Las Vegas. He worked with a lot of groups there, and he was he was getting into a salsa group over there. As a matter of fact, he was calling me prior to him dropping that bombshell on me. He was asking me, "Yo, I need you to teach me how to write for percussion. Can you write percussion charts for me on a song?" You know, and I'm like, "Damn, Ed, all right, you got it," and I did it. He gave me an album of music that he needed, and I showed him how it would go if I was to write the charts and so forth and so on. I broke it down for him, and I told him, you can call me at any time you want. I can explain what A, B, and C, because he comes from the Latin jazz world or the funk world, or Latin was like pure salsa music wasn't his bag, but he had his heart set on learning it. He was practicing and performing with a couple of groups in Las Vegas while I was still there, just to get his chops up, just to get his feet wet. He used to hang out with a lot of the quote-unquote top dogs in percussion in Las Vegas to pick their brains. He would ask me for advice here and there, what would I do if I was to do this? What would I do if I was to do that? And never a time when the phone rang, he was on the other line, that he would let it go to voicemail unless he was busy. And he would even, reach back to you. Wouldn't take 24 or 48 hours. But there were times when he would call me, and I'll always pick up the phone and say, what's up, Ed, and blah, blah, and we talk, and we chat about music, and he would ask me goofy questions, which I thought were goofy at the time, but, it was legitimate questions about X, Y, and Z, and I would answer him, and I would talk to him about things, and I would talk to him about the importance of, getting this on point, getting that on point, and we would talk about, I don't know, whatever, mostly music. And then when he dropped that bombshell on me, I absolutely 100% went speechless. But I told him, no, don't worry about it, bro. I'll call you from time to time. I didn't. And I didn't call him from time to time. Then next thing you know, I look at a Facebook post and he passed away. And I haven't reached out to his wife, Anita, ever since he passed away. And that bothers me still. I don't know if that's ever happened to anyone, guys, but it bothers me still. Now, I could have said something. I could have had at least one conversation with him before his time was up. I could have followed through and saying something, anything, a kind word, a joke, and just pure silence. I was going to, in this podcast, I was going to tribute an episode to him. And I couldn't even bring myself to do that. Now, you're all probably wondering, you know what, Tiny, you're a piece of shit. I feel that way. I don't have a right to be a music advocate for anybody, because I can't even be a good friend. But you know what they say? The person that you're the most hardest is yourself. But, again, when you feel that you're in this fight by yourself, you're not. You do have support. You do have friends. You do have family. You do have people that think like you. They're just afraid to say it. They're afraid to say, I'm sorry. Sometimes they're afraid to say what they need to say. And for the first time in my life, aside from the death of my mom, I turned chicken and said nothing. Now, am I asking for forgiveness in that? No. I don't want it. I don't deserve it. But I promise never to let something like that happen again. Now, I couldn't lay to rest that, but at least I can do this. At least I can talk for those who don't talk anymore. I can at least say something. Use my forum to say something. Use it to help somebody. Pay it forward. Find, there's people out there that don't want to talk about the things that they're going through, that you consider, or they consider you a friend, or they consider you an advocate, they consider you a partner. And to just sit by and say nothing, to be truthfully honest, the worst thing that anyone could do is stay quiet. It's the worst thing that anyone could do. And I don't know if I'll ever forgive myself on that. And I don't think I should. I have no right to forgive myself. But at least I can do something. At least I could do this. Now, again, this is just a small part. This is just a small part of the process. This is just a very, 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 very small part of helping one person. I know I failed, but I can't fail again. So, again, I am going to be that advocate that I should have been, that mentor that I need to be, that coach, that inspiration, that I don't know. I'm going to do what I can. I have to now. Now it's no choice. And if that means that, again, I lose connections, friends, whatever, I don't care. I really don't. I have to put it on the line. I have to be all in. And that means I got to walk hard. Or work hard. You know, I can't let something like that happen again. Well, not only that, but I just can't let no one down again. On Saturday, this weekend, which was the 21st, I was sitting in my living room debating whether I should even continue doing the podcast. And it has nothing to do with anyone, it's just me, an eternal debate. Not that I want 1 million subscribers and 1,000 listeners. I mean, that'd be nice, it'd be great, but no, it's not that. I just want to know if I'm making a difference in someone's life. I just want to know that what I'm saying either is well received in some way, shape, or form, or I'm being taken somewhat serious. I don't know if I am. And that doubt is what keeps me sometimes awake at night. If I am helping anyone, if anything that I say is of value, or anything that I say is important, I don't know. Ed thought so. But then look how that turned out. In my personal view, I failed him as a friend. But I should have had, and I had time, and I'm not going to beat myself up about this, but I have to for a little bit, so please bear with me. This is a long time coming. I need to take accountability and responsibility for that particular action. So, I still have no words. I still have no thoughts in my head that make any sense whatsoever. But I hope that he's up in heaven and looking down with a smile, saying, "Don't worry about it. I know you love me." I'd like to think so. I just hope that is the case. But I guess I'll never know. And until that day where I can feel that again, not vindication, and please please guys, look, if anyone listens to this and they have this thought of me acting like a victim, no, there ain't no victim here. There's no victim, no survivor, no nothing. This is just somebody that's bearing his soul because of guilt, because of the feeling of failure. I have a right to feel that way, especially about what I just talked about. And that I never really came to grips with it. This is just a small deep dive into my life of why I feel as passionate as I do about this industry, and I should actually hold that same passion with my friends and family, in which I do, because anyone that I consider a family or friend, I'll protect them with my life. Whether they would be in my immediate vicinity or they'd be 2,000 miles away. But now it's a little bit more than that. Now it's more than just protecting my immediate family. It's just more than protecting my immediate friends. It's now more than that. Now I have to carry the entire industry, and I want to carry the entire industry on my shoulders. I want to lead this quote-unquote revolution that I talked about in episode 10. Where we're all tired, the musicians are tired, the band leaders are tired, the band directors are tired, the freaking artists are tired of being treated like shit. Now, you may not think so, because if you're not in it, you won't know. But if you were in this industry, you know exactly what I'm talking about. And you can even list your shit. The problem is, with all the things that are going around the world, nobody wants to talk about this. Or nobody cares. That's the part that kind of pisses me off. That nobody cares. That's the part that fucking gets me. That gets under my skin. That breaks me into fucking hives. That makes me want to put my fist through a wall. That nobody gives a shit. Nobody cares. Because it's not them. There are brothers and sisters of my musical community, and I'm going to say mine. There are brothers and sisters in my musical community that just don't give a shit. Oh, it's not me, so I don't care. That's how they sometimes take it. And I'm going to say some. Because there are those that do. Secretly, they do. Secretly, they do care. They're just afraid. And they have every right to be. Because, they're probably doing good now. They're probably working sufficiently. And they feel that if they rock the boat, it's over. They feel if they say anything derogatory whatsoever, it's over. I don't blame them for thinking that way. Because that's the society today of what we live in. We live in a clique, or we live in a sheep-ass fucking society. There are no more wolves. You can claim to be a wolf all you want. Oh, I'm a wolf. I'm a wolf pack. You're probably going to say this. I know I shouldn't say this, but I'm going to say this anyway. I'll probably show my ignorance by saying this, but I don't give a fuck. It's my podcast. I can think what I like. Everyone always wants to be quote-unquote wolf. Do you know what a wolf is? Really, really, really analyzing the spirit of a wolf? Alright, let's analyze the wolf. Okay? A wolf is supposedly a dominant spirit, right? And never say die, I don't run, I don't skate. Okay? Let me tell you something. Wolf is a punk-ass bitch. That's right, I said it. A wolf is a punk-ass bitch. Because he can't fight his own battles. He needs to be surrounded by quote-unquote other wolves to fight. That's why they call it wolf pack. Why is a wolf so dangerous when he's surrounded with 3 or 4 of his fellow wolves? That's the only time a wolf shows some balls. You know, sheeps are actually smart, but unfortunately they have the bad rap of being clueless and, you know, morally blinded. No, the real hero is the sheepdog. That son of a bitch gets no fucking recognition whatsoever when it comes to wolf and sheep. The sheepdog. Because that dog is just one dog against a pack of wolves protecting a herd of sheep. Now, I know I'm not the only goofy motherfucker out there that's ever sat down and watched a Warner Brothers cartoon with the sheepdog and the cat and the wolf going after the sheep. I know I'm not the only one. Okay? There may be people that are not in my age generation that are listening to this. They may be younger, so maybe I could be the one. But I'll tell you what. You go on the internet and you type in sheepdog, sheep herder, or whatever the hell you want to call it, a Warner Brothers cartoon, guaranteed you're going to see a cartoon of a wolf and a sheepdog, going at it one by one. And how do I know? Because I used to watch that as a cartoon. They clock in, hello Sam, hello whatever, I forget the other guy's name. And then they get to work. They drink their coffee and they put their rolls on. And throughout the entire episode, that wolf is trying to get that one sheep. And that sheepdog is on him like a pair of Fruit Looms. Again, I don't want to be a wolf. Fuck the wolf. Wolf is a fucking idiot, in my opinion. Yeah, it's a dangerous looking animal, but he's a punk bitch. I'd rather be a sheepdog. Because to me, the sheepdog is the real hero. Like I said, sheepdog takes on a pack of wolves to defend a herd of sheep. So, consider me not only your advocate, but your sheepdog. And I'm going to do my best at this. I will be your voice. Even if you think or believe that I shouldn't be. I'm not afraid of not working with anybody anymore. I'm done. Honestly, I kind of sort of done with that. There's probably a select few groups that I would work with anyway. But to be a pure like musician, 100% musician or freelance musician, I'm done with that shit. I'm done. I'm not interested in that no more. And if I am, you have to be a special breed. I'm sorry. There's only very select few that I would work like that with. Okay? And I can name them. I'm not worried about venues closing their doors on me. You know, there's very few venues that I would work in anyway. Besides, why the hell do I want to work in a venue that don't pay people for their work? I mean, who the hell would? I wouldn't. No one should. It's not fair. It's not fair to them. That's just straight up fucked up. Would you work for somebody that doesn't pay you? No. No matter how, don't worry about it. If you do the job today, I'll pay you in like 3 weeks. No. You know, no, I wouldn't. And you shouldn't either. So I'm not worried about getting blackballed or ostracized. I'm not worried about that. So see, I have nothing to lose. And neither should anyone. But I understand if you don't. I understand if you have a lot to lose. I understand if you have a reputation to uphold. Okay, well then talk to me anonymously. If you don't want to tell people, or you don't want to be that martyr, I don't mind doing it for you. Again, I have nothing to lose. I believe I've done everything in the music industry. I don't have anything to prove. If I now perform or I now record or whatever the hell I do for pure fun. I do for pure love. It's not a financial reason for me to do this anymore. If I retired right now, and believe me when I say this, if I retired right now, it will not be out of frustration. I have a lot to look back on, a lot of experience, a lot of great memories. So, but I don't think anything's going to happen to me because, again, when you feel like you're yelling into a wind tunnel, nobody's listening. Obviously, nobody is. So I'm going to make you listen. And how am I going to do that? Very simple. I can't talk about people in the past. I can't talk about band leaders in the past that have screwed musicians. I can't talk about promoters in the past that have screwed musicians. I mean, I could bring it up. But then what the hell for? They're not operating anymore or they're dead. So I can't talk about them anymore. But as of October 23rd, 2023, you're damn right I can. Consider this a birthday, or consider this a rebirth, or whatever the hell you want to consider it. Whatever you want to consider it, I say after today, on the 24th, anyone, I find out, any band leader out there that's screwing musicians, any venue that's screwing band leaders, any organization that's taken upon themselves to stop other musicians from eating, anyone, it doesn't matter what style of music, I could give two fucks. If it's local, if it's Pittsburgh where I live, if it's going on here, or if it's going on in New York, or if it's going on in LA, or it's going on in Texas, I don't give a shit where in the entire United States. If you are screwing people over in any way, shape, or form, especially people that don't deserve to be screwed, I am going to find you. I'm going to put your motherfucking ass on blast. And the world's going to know your name and what you do. Bottom line. The world's going to know what a crook you are. Okay? My mission is to put people like that out of business. They should not be operating in our industry. They've been let in. We've had them roaming around, and enough is enough. Now, maybe I won't be able to do this in my time. Maybe. But at least I can get the ball rolling. Maybe somebody will pick up the slack. Or maybe they'll get it into their heads and say, you know what, we can't work with people like this no more. They've screwed it up. They don't pay us right. We've gotten screwed enough. Enough is enough. Right? Maybe that's that's a revolution right there. Now, I know I've talked about that, about disrespect. Well, part of disrespect is that we allow these conniving Mickey Mouse, fake ass fucking whatever you are, whether it be our own brothers and sisters, or whether it be some promoter that wants to be called a promoter, or some dude that's acting like a fucking promoter, or whatever the hell, we've let them roam around enough. They've done too much damage. They've done screwed up this business. They're not going to fix it. They're going to continue to screw these guys. They're going to continue to screw our brothers and sisters, and we're going to continue to let them unless we put a stop to it right now. When are we going to fucking put a stop to it? I don't see anybody coming out and saying anything. And if you do, you did what I did, which was hint at it, instead of just blatantly saying it. Well, I'm not hinting no more. Enough is enough. And if that means I gotta do this by myself, then it is what it is. I'll do it by myself. I know I'm not the only one out there that feels this way. I know I'm not the only one out there that has a story. I know that I'm going to be able to touch at least one person that listens to this in some way, shape, or form. That says to themselves, you know what? This dude is right. I ain't going to take this no more. I deserve to be treated like a human being. I know there's someone out there that needs somebody to get, that believes in, that needs to hear. They have the story. Sorry, they have the story to tell, but they can't tell it because they feel that they can't. They feel alone. Well, let me tell you, whoever you are out there, man or woman, I need to tell you something. You are not alone. Trust me, you're not alone. I got you. I got your back. Whether you believe it or not, I got your back. I fucked up once. I'm going to own up to that. And I got that cross to bear. I will not fuck up again. You got my word. But staying silent is not the way to handle it. Staying silent is not the way you need to handle that. You need to step up and say something. Or else, nothing changes. Your life is not going to get better. Again, death is not the greatest loss in life. The greatest loss is what dies inside while you're still alive. So, on that note, I'm bringing this episode to a close. You know, I hope y'all don't understand that this is not a quote-unquote show, that all this is just invented. No, this is serious. But it is an episode with a message. And I just want to thank everybody for listening or watching the podcast. You know, please stay tuned. Next 2 weeks, I'm going to come back with another one. I'm going to pray that, I come back with another one with more allies. And if I don't, then the fight is mine. And I'm ready to take it on. I don't bend the buckle. So don't you worry about that. I'm your host, Juan Tiny Colon of JTC the podcast. And I wish you all the happiness you got, all the health that you need, and all the success in everything that you guys do. Te quiero un montón, te quiero de gratis. Just please take care of yourselves and each other. I'm out.